I request Shashank Joshi to come online on video. Thank you so much, sir. Good morning to you. And we have a pleasant job of listening to Shashank. We are proud to announce that Dr. M.V. Govindappa Memorial Oration, which we are doing for the last decade, is now awarded to none other than the great academician, Dr. Shashank Joshi. I will not stand before you and the chairpersons to introduce him and award the oration. The oration plaque and the medal will be couriered to you, or we will be giving it to you on February when you are visiting Mysore. We will have a small program at API Mysore as well as you are visiting our institution. Thank you so much for accepting to deliver this oration. And I request chairpersons, Dr. M.A. Shekhar, to take the chair there. Them are renowned academicians. Premnath has been the editor of our Karnataka journal and a great academician, great interest in research and publication. Though he was in the government health service, he has demonstrated how one can do research even while working at the peripheries. And Dr. M.A. Shekhar, you know, he is a great friend of mine and great academician. We have heard him on several occasions, and he was heading the Department of Endocrinology at Mysore Medical College and Research Institute. Now he is positioned himself into a coveted position of Vice Chancellor of Adichunchuru University, and both of them have contributed a lot to API Mysore. I request the chairperson to take over, award the oration, and introduce the orator and the oration proper.
Good morning to all. This, at the outset, we would, myself and Dr. Shekhar, thank the organizers for giving this opportunity to chair this prestigious oration, Dr. M.V. Govindappa's oration. Dr. Govindappa was my teacher, both undergraduate, postgraduate, and I was his house surgeon and a postgraduate student also. Let me not go to the details. I'll go to the details during probably quiz time. Dr. M.V. Govindappa was born in the year 1934 in a small, poor agricultural family in Malya village of Gauribidnur Taluk, Kolar district. His father was Sendi Venkatappa and mother was Srimati Anjanamma. He joined Mysore Medical College in 1952 and graduated from Mysore Medical University in 1958. He was the best outgoing student of the college in that year and was awarded several gold medals and prizes at the convocation. He was the first person to get first class in MBBS from the University of Mysore. He was elected as the Fellow of Royal College of Physicians, Edinburgh in 1995. After retirement, he served as Professor of Medicine at JSS Medical College, Mysore. He worked at BM Hospital and guided the students for DNB, and he left us while examining a patient like a warrior on 11th December 2007 to reach the heavenly abode. MPMRT is thankful to Dr. C.B. Murthy, who donated 3 lakhs of rupees in awarding this oration in the name of Professor M.V. Govindappa. This is in short, but there is plenty to speak about M.V. Govindappa later. Thank you very much. We would honor Dr. Joshi with the plaque and the medal in his absence.
Good morning, everyone. Great pleasure to be here today, and a very pleasant morning. And another extremely great feeling to introduce my very good friend, a guide philosopher, and a very, very, very good teacher, Dr. Shashank Joshi. After having listened to the legends of yesteryear, who was our teacher, we have a living legend looking at you now, Dr. Shashank. Yes, you know, how can I say, activity during COVID is legendary. And for decades to come, we shall all remember the service he has. Shashank, unmute yourself.
Hello, am I audible? Hello, I can't hear you, but you can hear me probably. Doesn't matter.
Okay. Disclosure, I'm always talking good about you, right?
Shekhar, you can talk from here.
No,
Are
now
you
it's
audible
audible. Oh, very clear now.
Okay, come. Shekhar.
Shashank, I was telling that you're a great friend of mine, an extremely good teacher, and a living legend, especially during the COVID times of this country, where you have served, extended such an yeoman service to the human population of India, and we will remember you for decades to come. And the rest of the things, we can always talk about the achievements of a great man. But this person, when you look at him, youthful, so happy to be. Let me tell you, when you listen to him, you will know the crisp and clear way he puts his knowledge across. Welcome, Dr. Shashank. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Shekhar, for your kind words of introduction. And I have to thank my good friend, Dr. Basavada. He's on my screen. He's the big man. I'm the small man. We are thin, fat Indians. I thank the GSS Oration committee for bestowing this oration on me. And Professor Gauda told me to talk on diabetes remission, reversal, what's new. I don't have any conflict of interest for this talk. These are my disclosures, which are mandatory. The only disclosure I have is I'm a good friend of Basav Gowda, Shekhar, and others. That's my only disclosure. So we have to hear to listen something today morning. What we listen, this is a recorded talk. We will learn, and what we learn, we will adapt. So the diabetes remission and reversal, there are a lot of myths and facts. And in the next 25-30 minutes, I'm going to go over some of them in an evidence-based way and what are very germane to our own country, India. So fundamentally, I'm going to cover three topics: a spectrum of chronic metabolic diseases, understanding disrupted metabolism, and can artificial intelligence be the disruption to actually reverse and look into precision medicine. So fundamentally, when we look at this whole chronic cardiometabolic cluster, diabetes is at the epicenter. And we have obesity, hypertension, dyslipidemia, inflammation, fatty liver disease, renal disease, cardiovascular disease. And more than 3/4 of the people living with diabetes don't get their A1C below 7%. And they are burdened with a spectrum of chronic metabolic conditions and its related complications. So understanding the need of the hour is that a lot of people have a lot of drugs, plethora of guidelines coming every day. And despite of availability of numerous treatments, still we are having every 5 seconds on planet Earth, 6.7 million people living with diabetes dying. Diabetes is a global emergency. We are 8 billion people on planet Earth. 500 million people have pre-diabetes. Another 500 million people have diabetes. Average time spent in a clinic is very limited. And therefore, we need action and look at disrupted root cause of chronic metabolic diseases. And that's really the key. And the key lies in early call for action in pre-diabetes and obesity. And if that we address, we can actually look at remission and reversal. And that is grossly under-addressed in community practice. And that's something which we need to know, that is the actionable point. And I'm happy that my ever-smiling good friend, I call him the Mysore genius. Professor Shekhar said that we always need to be happy and healthy. And that's really the key in chronic metabolic conditions. So when we look at this whole spectrum and understand disrupted metabolism, mitochondria is one set where all the cellular dysfunction occurs. And we get a cluster of cardiometabolic based chronic disease. And there are two clusters which drive it, the ABCD and DBCD. What is the word ABCD? Adiposity based chronic disease, in which either we have abnormal weight or abnormal distribution of fat or abnormal or a dysfunctional adipocyte or a fat cell. That is adiposity based chronic disease. The second tenet is DBCD, dysglycemia based chronic disease, in which there is prediabetes to over diabetes. And what is the final stage? We start with people at risk, like all of us in this audience. Then we move to stage 2 with pre-disease. Then we move to disease. And then ultimately we'll end up with cardiometabolic, biomechanical, microvascular complications. And the seat of all this is mitochondria. And therefore, metabolic inflexibility is at the heart of the matter, which is all resident in every cell as an organelle at a mitochondrial level. And what happens at a level of mitochondria in metabolic medicine is that there is an inflexibility, which means there is a dysregulated energy substrate metabolism in the mitochondria. A normal healthy mitochondria allows alternate fuel switching involving glucose substrates and pyruvates. And unfortunately, when you are eating too much or caloric excess, chronic feeding, obesity or type 2 diabetes, there is alternative switching of the metabolic fuels. And this is very germane to understand. So remember that the sufficiency to utilize the nutrient substrates requires an excellent balance between the available fuel and the net mitochondrial oxidative capacity. And for an adequate mitochondrial activity, the balance of the fuel or the food intake and normally functioning beta cell which can secrete appropriately and a normally functioning general cell which can sense insulin appropriately is the key. Unfortunately, the muscle is the key site in which during fed state or fasting state, there is a lot of carb and lipid oxidation. And what happens when there is metabolic inflexibility is there is inability to suppress lipid oxidation and switch to carbohydrate oxidation in response to meals or insulin stimulation. So fundamentally, in people living with type 2 diabetes, the mitochondria cannot respire well. There is a 35% decrease in mitochondrial respiration. The skeletal muscle mitochondrial oxidative capacity and function is downregulated, and the skeletal mitochondrial content is downregulated. And all you need to do to upgrade it is exercise, exercise, exercise. They say 5 minutes of brisk walk will reduce your mortality and make you live longer. Sitting is the next smoking. All of you all are sitting in this wonderful auditorium. I would urge you that every half an hour take a brisk walk. If you don't like my lecture, please go out for a walk, come back. You would have not, otherwise, by just sitting for the next half an hour, you might have smoked a few cigarettes. That's the key message. And the message is lying in the mitochondria. Now, what is happening is when we are obese or type 2 diabetic, there is a lot of glucotoxicity and mitochondrial dysfunction. And fundamentally, the insulin signaling is altered. Because when there is mitochondrial dysfunction, there is downregulation of the mitochondrial pyruvate uptake and lipid oxidation. The substrate ATP utilization is downregulated. The phosphorylation of IRS1 and nitric oxide is downregulated. The glucose entry is barred, and there is endothelial dysfunction, leading to dysglycemia, dyslipidemia, hypertension, and macrovascular disease. So fundamentally, it's all about the mitochondria. It's all about the skeletal muscle insulin resistance and impaired pancreatic insulin secretion. And when there is glucotoxicity, lipotoxicity, a flood of free fatty acids and glucose, the adaptive threshold for ensuring lipo and glucotoxicity leads to downregulation of ATP and cellular death and apoptosis. So that is the key. So whether it is the heart, the blood vessel, the muscle, the pancreatic beta cell, or the adipocyte, at each stage, the mitochondria is dysfunctional. And the aggressive glucose control is not sufficient to overcome mitochondrial dysfunction. We need something beyond that, and therefore we need to modulate mitochondria, not just by medical management of drugs, but by appropriately cutting down the calories, eating less, eating on time, eating slowly, doing a lot of physical activity, yoga, pranayam, building some muscle mass, by some vigorous exercises, starting from as simple things like a Surya Namaskar, Uthak Baitak, to proper gymnasium exercises, so that we can make every tissue, every cell, every system, every organ function can efficiently work. And that is the mitochondrial modulation. So to correct the cellular defect in type 2 diabetes and ensure that a mitochondria are able to appropriately utilize carbohydrate, protein, and lipid substrates, we need to correct the metabolic defects of the liver, the pancreas, and the skeletal muscle to prevent oxidative stress and insulin resistance. We have a lot of medications which are coming in, but fundamentally, all this is leading to a disrupted metabolism, leading to inflammation, excess glucose, lipids, and inflammation, and cardiovascular disease, endothelial damage, type 2 diabetes, and insulin resistance. There's a lot of confusion available in the literature on two terms, remission and reversal. This difference is very subtle, and reversal means actually reversal of the disease. For example, reversal from insulin requiring stage to a non-insulin requiring stage, and usually improvement of insulin sensitivity. But we avoid this term reversal nowadays, and we are trying to achieve a new term called remission, which means you are okay today, but you may not be okay tomorrow. So that is the term. So the ADA says there are three terms. Partial remission means your A1C is between 5.7 and 6.4, fasting glucose between 100 to 125. And if you are able to achieve that for 1 year at least, it is partial remission. If you are fully having normoglycemia for 1 year at least, A1C is less than 5.7, fasting is less than 100, it is complete remission. And the prolonged remission, some people call it cure, I don't call it cure, is at least to achieve this for 5 years. So remember, there are three mutually exclusive states of remission. Reversal is a term to be not used in general practice. Number one, partial remission, A1C between 5.7 and 6.4, fasting between 100 to 125, that is partial remission for 1 year. If you keep A1C below 5.7, fasting below 100, and keep normal glucose for 1 year, it is complete remission. And if you are able to sustain that for 5 years, it is prolonged remission. These criteria were endorsed by EDA, the Endocrine Society, the EHD, and Diabetes UK in a recently concluded definition, which is a consensus definition. And they say complete remission requires a A1C or a EA1C below 6.5, fasting blood glucose below 100, and at least maintained without anti-diabetic drugs for at least 3 months. That was the definition they gave in. So it is possible that we can have 3 pillars which can cause remission or reversal. Number 1, diet. Number 2, exercise. And number 3, drugs. And diabetes is a progressive disease. Landmark studies like UKPDS taught us that 50% of beta cells are already lost when you are actually having type 2 diabetes. So what can make the change? Can we really learn from the lessons of UKPDS that you can reverse diabetes? Because the past learnings have told us that you can look at it. In reversing diabetes or in remitting diabetes, you are making normoglycemia, where you don't need to take a medication, and that's life-changing. So it's not easy to define remission of type 2 diabetes, because at each level, if we are able to do that, for example, at the economic level, you will be having lesser resources. People love to say that I want to be disease-free. When I see a patient every day in my clinic, they always say, doctor, I want to not do any medication. I will do diet exercise. I want to remit my disease. I see this every day. So remission, defining or reversal is not as straightforward as it seems. Because as I said, that hyperglycemia or dysglycemia is a continuous spectrum. And therefore, to achieve the glycemic metrics or diagnostic cut points, which I alluded to, you have to look at the ongoing medications. You have to make major changes in lifestyle. Some people even do surgical route. And sometimes we have to replace our meals or use endoluminal devices. So these are all mechanisms through which remission is doable, possible, and some evidence base of some level of evidence does exist. I am going to illustrate few of that. So again, summarizing, this slide I have already said, way back in 2009, this slide was there, partial remission, complete remission, prolonged remission, now recognized. And type 2 diabetes now is a recognizable term by all bodies. Diet, exercise, and personalized medicine is still the key, but pharmacotherapy also can achieve remission. You can look at achieving pharmacotherapeutic reversal by weight loss. Couple of years back, almost 2 decades back, we tried to even achieve remission through metformin and glitazones. And we have some data for that. For example, we had a student where we use a triple drug combination of a pioglitazone, metformin, and a secretagogue. And we looked at two groups, remission group and non-remission group, in Indian population with my partner, Dr. Panikar. And we saw that just by underlying correction of insulin resistance, within a couple of months, we were able to induce remission for at least a good 2 years. So it is not impossible that by correcting underlying treatments, you can do that. Professor Ramchandran performed in our population the IDPP, Indian Diabetes Prevention Program. And in his study, he showed again, metformin small dose can be equally effective to lifestyle modulation. And it is possible that you can appropriately use pharmacotherapy and lifestyle modulation. Obesity modulating drugs from the GLP-1 backbone are available. Semaglutide injectable orally and a new drug called tirzepatide cause some compelling weight loss and may be able to achieve remission apart from SGLT2 inhibitors in times to come. But the key is dietary intervention. And who is the right candidate for dietary intervention is important. And therefore, I want to teach you the first principle of my talk. Don't sit was my first take-home message. My second take-home message for today is A, B, C, D, E, F in every diabetic you see every day. A for A1C, B for body weight, C for C-peptide, D for duration of diabetes, E for enthusiasm, F for frequent follow-ups. If your A1C is below 9%, you are not lean, you have normal body weight, anything about 20 or 19, your C-peptide is normal. Remember, it has to be normal or above normal, not below normal. Your duration of diabetes is less than 10 years. You are enthusiastic and you are able to do frequent follow-ups. You can think of remission. I repeat that if your A1C is below 9 or 10%, your body weight is normal above 19 or 20, you have a normal C-peptide, your duration of diabetes is less than 10 years, you are enthusiastic and you will follow up frequently, you can look at a simple remission approach. But all these ABCDF points are important to recognize when you think of remission. Because it's important to know that if the A1C is too high, you're not going to achieve remission. The more is the body weight, easier it is to lose. Higher the C-peptide, better is the remission chances. Shorter the duration of diabetes, better is the chances. Motivation is the key. And I can see Professor Shekhar, I love him. So is Dr. Basav Gowda, they're always smiling. Happiness is as important. Holistic healthcare, you need to follow up frequently. There are a lot of factors to improve reversal. Age and gender, genes and ethnicity, body fat status, physical activity, family and social culture. But there are influencers which are disruptors, like easy availability of free food and accessibility. cost, negative influence by advertising, readily available food takeaways at home delivery options, and low cost processed energy dense foods. These are our disruptors. So adherence to a dietary plan is the key in remission. Role of diet, making the food choices and the timing, eliminating barriers of behavioral change, support systems, and leading a normal life within the set perimeters is the key to be encouraged. You can even use mobile phones. For example, long time back, in the randomized control study, Professor Ramachandran beautifully showed that mobile phone messaging encouraged lifestyle choices to reduce incident type 2 diabetes in people with IGT. It was acceptable, scalable, low cost, and a part of alternative strategies. So it is not impossible for people who eat too much, do not exercise, are very sedentary, and look at adherence and empowerment, reversal or remission is possible. It is all based on science of hypothesis generated by Professor Roy Taylor from United Kingdom, called a twin cycle hypothesis. When you eat too much or excess calories, fundamentally we activate two cycles. Liver cycle, where there's a lot of liver fat, and that fat goes into the pancreas and causes the fatty pancreas, fatty liver. So the twin cycle hypothesis is when you eat too much, there is caloric excess, there is activation of fatty liver, activation of fatty pancreas, and that disrupts our metabolism. Now remember, there is a BMI myth. I may be lean, my friends in the audience may be obese. Somebody may be looking obese, but may not have diabetes. Somebody may look healthy, but may have diabetes. Because there is a personal fat threshold. Individual's fat threshold decides who will develop diabetes. The fat stored in the liver and pancreas, the beta cells are susceptible to the fat-induced metabolic stress. Simply put here in this illustration, on an imaging study, you can see liver fat 36% type 2 diabetes, lose weight, fatty liver disappeared, liver fat to 2%, diabetes gone. So if you change the liver fat content by just eating 800 calories per day, which was shown by Professor Roy Taylor in UK through the direct study, you could actually remit diabetes. So fundamentally, when we have excess metabolic stress, by eating too much, your healthy beta cell is put under stress. Beta cells get exhausted, then the beta cells, pancreas is plastic. So other islet cells like alpha and delta cells get converted into beta cells and get recruited. And you are able to relieve that stress and have some more healthy beta cells, and body tries to auto-regulate. This is the zone and window in which remission is feasible. Unfortunately, if there is more metabolic stress, beta cells mass will come down, beta cells will die, there will be permanent beta cell failure, death of the beta cell, C-peptide will become low, you will need insulin for life. There will be irreversible beta damage. So the first component is a functional component, which is in the ambit and the zone and the window of remission. While the second component, there is structural damage, and it is unlikely to be remitted. It is very important we as doctors, as clinicians, recognize the distinction between functional medicine and structural medicine. What is reversible, what is not reversible, what is remittable, what is not remittable, and it's important to recognize that. And metabolic stress leads to loss of beta cell mass, and then beta cells de-differentiate, and restoring the differentiation of beta cells is the key to remission. Unfortunately, we are all in stressed times. Dr. Basav Gowda was so stressed out whether I will be able to connect to you through this technology that he told me, you pre-record your talk, Shashank. And he told me that you better send me a recording in advance, because stress is an integral part of all our lives. So remember, whenever we are stressed out, there are three bad things which happen. At the neuroendocrine level, we secrete excess cortisol, which leads to not only central adiposity, dyslipidemia, hepatic glucose output or liver diarrhea of glucose, beta cell dysfunction. But we are very sympathetic or autonomic. And when we are sympathetic and autonomic, we get insulin resistance, hypertension, central adiposity, and eventually this neuroendocrine hypercortisolic state, autonomic sympathetic discharge, and what we popularly call stress, which my good friend Dr. Basav Gowda got yesterday, whether I will connect through technology today or not, okay, leads to inflammation. And that inflammation leads to insulin sensitivity, glucose uptake, lipid uptake, and apoptosis. Also remember, we are having clocks in our body called biological clocks. And these biologichical clocks affect all our metabolic clocks. Every cell of our body has a clock. Our main clock is in the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus. But whether it is the liver clock, the muscle clock, the immune clock, the heart clock, the kidney clock, the gut clock, the fat clock, all these clocks, when you get disruption, there is a disruption or malalignment of peripheral and central clocks. Let me give you an example. All of you all are in medical college. If you use light at night and you are a night owl, you are causing circadian misalignment. If you are sleeping during my talk today, in this wonderful auditorium, which may be lit or not lit, I don't know. Dr. Basav Gowda is a smart teacher and a strict principal. I'm sure he must have kept the lights on. Okay. Or if you eat food at night, they disrupt our clocks. So there are three simple messages here. Don't have bright light at night. Don't sleep during daytime. And don't eat food at night. Fast at night, sleep well and sleep for a good 7 hours, and do not have artificial light. That is what it is. Today is a Sunday. Sunday is fundamentally nothing but a day of the sun god. Have some solar energy and try to visit the sun. So fundamentally, when we disrupt our clocks, metabolism and behavior, we will get obesity, dyslipidemia, and diabetes. So there's a catch-22 in metabolic diseases. Remission evidence from metabolic disease is possible with hypocaloric diet or metabolic surgery. Yes, it is possible, but it is not universally applicable to all. One size does not fit all because there are multiple factors which influence disrupted metabolism and organ damage. The more and more we understand medical biology and conditions, more we'll have to prevent, treat, and manage it. And we are now moving towards precision therapy. So precision therapy or personalized medicine is treatment and prevention where we look at heterogeneity of the disease and look at variability for that human being, for the genes, the environment, and lifestyle for each person. And that is where we are trying to use artificial intelligence. So fundamentally, we want to have some innovation in healthcare. And now we can recognize in diabetes management, we could do SMBG, which was like a snapshot, and we could get a lot of data. But too much of data is not good. For example, we can easily pick up a plot of self-monitored blood glucose values. It's like a snapshot. But today we have technology where we can do a video recording. Like you are seeing me through a video recording now. It is called continuous glucose monitoring. So 24/7, if you are given a fast food today with your coffee at your school, medical school today, your glucose is going up, you can actually pick it up retrospectively or prospectively by a glucose sensing technology. So technology can predict it. It is like astrology. You can predict it. If I eat this, this will happen. If I exercise this, this will happen. And we can actually make, rather than going a gut feeling or guessing or being lucky or wrong, we can precisely predict. And that is where artificial intelligence is trying to mimic human cognitive function. And we are using this in healthcare systems biology. And in every day, we are seeing that. For example, each one of you are addicted to a mobile phone. And if you Google a search that from Mysore to Bangalore, how much time will it go? And you want to take a bus, immediately advertisements will pop up because artificial intelligence is mapping you. If you Google Mangaluru to Mumbai flight, you will keep getting reminders on your mobile phones. Right now, when I'm talking, some people may still be looking at their mobile phones. So mobile phone is a AI device, which is a smartphone. And for example, can we use predictive artificial intelligence algorithms to get that gap between disrupted metabolism and chronic metabolic diseases? Can we create a digital twin of personalized medicine where there's a virtual model of physical entity with a dynamic bidirectional link? Can we actually look at highly personalized treatment and interventions? Can we use digital sensors and health devices, clouds, mobile internet technologies, AI, medicines, treatment plans, dietary programs to actually link and conceptualize a whole body digital twin? Is such examples available? Yes, they are. For example, our cardiology colleagues have done extraordinary job in digital heart, in our pacemaking technology, in the living heart project. So in cardiology, they are advanced there. In the neurology world, you have the blue brain and the brain aneurysm mapping projects, which are able to actually make the digital twin applications. COVID was popular, and in the human airway systems, we can actually make tumors of the lungs, and also we can predict multiple sclerosis. So whole body digital twin is a California-based company which is trying to model glucose technology with CGM, food intake, machine learning algorithms in type 2 diabetes. And we are involved from Bangalore with Dr. Samanna on an RCT, where we are using this inputs in a randomized control trial to modulate diabetes in RCT. So if you do precision medicine, which means there is a coach, there is a doctor, and there is inputs from CGM, from Fitbit, from weighing scale, every day told to the coach is telling the patient what changes to make, and computer is also telling the patient what changes to make, and then a doctor is supervising it. Then you can get some evidence base. We publish such evidence. We got excellent results with that. It's a 3-year trial. 2 years are already over, and the seminal paper is being written, and remission is possible. But the level of evidence, and this is old, 2023 output is there, is E of technology in 2021 has moved to B in 2023. So look at how fast technology has gone in. So after 102 years of insulin discovery, we have moved now to A1C, AI, and algorithmic medicine. But technology is not easy to adapt. We all adapted to mobile phones very easily. Of course, some of them are tech enthusiasts. You are in Mysuru and Karnataka, which is the tech capital of India. But you have more pragmatists and visionaries and early adopters. But most people are still conservative. But India is one of the highest population densities for mobile phone penetration. So we were able to put artificial intelligence as a standard of care. In fact, ADA had a press meeting after we presented our results of this RCT, where it is possible by using simple methods like a coach is the key, motivating the patient, then an app on the phone of the patient, getting all the inputs, where the patient is cheating, not cheating, where not exercising, where eating too much. Next week is Sankranti. I wish you all in advance how much they will eat more. And then giving them a direction under medical supervision, you can look at remission of diabetes. So we can actually study individual metabolism, look at behavioral patterns, look at genes, environment, and lifestyle, look at factors like nutrition, sleep, stress, and look at artificial intelligence, create a metabolic twin, and look at real-time insights to predict metabolism. So it's all doable. I clearly see it's all doable. But we are living in best of times, but also in worst of times. And prevention is still the key. 500 million people in the world are living with diabetes, another half with pre-diabetes. We can remit or reverse a lot of them by simply eating less, eating slowly, eating on time, have a large breakfast, moderate lunch, and light dinner, walk more, move more, do pranayam and Surya Namaskar, sleep well, sleep on time and smile. These are simple things. And we are all digitally intoxicated. Though I talk so much of digital medicine, I would urge each one of you to take my last take-home message of the day. That is detox digitally. 1 hour of digital detox is very important. Interact with your teachers like Dr. Basav Gowda, our chairpersons like Dr. Shekhar and other chairperson. Okay. Sleep well, sleep on time. Because if you interact, if you are happy, if you are healthy, you can have a better quality of life. I'm so grateful for the organizers, particularly Dr. Basav Gowda and his entire team, for allowing me this opportunity to present this oration. I am indeed indebted and indebted to JSS and their entire team for having me. I hope some of the pearls of wisdom which I have alluded to will be useful for you, for your family members, and for people living with diabetes. Because each one of you are our warriors in the battle against diabetes. India is almost going to surpass China in its population now. We have just become 8 billion people on planet Earth. 500 million of them have diabetes. Another 500 million have diabetes. Despite of all the advances, every 5 seconds, 6.7 million people die with diabetes every day. And you can make that difference. You are the change agent for making a difference to prevent diabetes, to remit diabetes, by just doing simple lifestyle solutions. It is possible to use lifestyle solutions and technology, marry them with artificial intelligence, so that we can have a better quality of life for people living with diabetes and a world without complications. Thank you so very much. I'm grateful and indebted to the entire team and Dr. Basav Gowda, my friend, for this opportunity to have an interaction with all of you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Shashank. It was very comprehensive, crisp and clear, as I have already mentioned. And looking at you, you have proved fat and mitochondria matter. Look at you. And look at us. Probably my mitochondria is doing not well. But at least you, and as you have just mentioned, I remember a movie called Sleep, Eat and Pray. You should have added the pray part of it. PREY, not PREY, PREY. Probably it will be a comprehensive way of preventing all these non-communicable diseases. Just to summarize for my internalization, many factors, but it all boils down to fat, which is inside the cell or intracellular fat, especially in the liver and in the pancreas, and the activity of mitochondria. For the postgraduate consumption, homeoplasmy and heteroplasmy of mitochondria, they have to look it up and make their notes. With these two, probably we can prevent, probably remit diabetes today. Thank you. We can have a few questions to this great speaker. And the chat box is always there. We can all type your questions and he will be very happy to answer. And open the floor for a few questions.
Regarding the physical activity, physical exercise, not just activity, how much physical activity is too much?
If I understand the question correctly, what should be the duration or how much physical activity should be done?
How much is too much?
Sorry?
How much is too much?
How much is too much? First thing is, before you do physical activity, you should see a medical consultation, rule out underlying cardiomyopathy and underlying subclinical cardiac disease. We are seeing celebrities which go out enthusiastically to do physical activity and drop dead. So first thing is that it's important to recognize that you rule out contraindications for exercise. That is the first thing. Second thing is, if you are medically indicated to do exercise, 60 minutes of activity every day is what is recommended, and not 30 minutes thrice a week, which was popularly seen. Dr. Mishra and many of us were a part of a consensus statement that Indians need 20 minutes of muscle strengthening exercises, 20 minutes of aerobic activity, and 20 minutes of being fidgety. So you're all in this auditorium here, beautiful auditorium. Be fidgety all the time. It's so brightly lit. Okay, that's called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So every day you should do 60 minutes of physical activity or move more. Now, the current consensus of ADA-ESD recommends that even if you do 6,000 to 8,000 steps, it's good enough. Even if you do a brisk walk for 5 minutes, every half an hour is good enough. Because most of the time, the excuse people give us living with diabetes is they don't have the time, they don't have the energy, they don't have the enthusiasm. So I tell them they do short walks, brisk walks for 5 to 6 minutes. Try to clock at 6 to 8,000 steps. Try to build some muscle. Try to be a little fidgety. And that's all you need to do. And do all that with smile, with music, with yoga, with pranayam, with Surya Namaskar, and be happy. I did pick up the point of pray to prayer and meditation and eventually good sleep. So in the whole biological or action of exercise, there are 5 S's which have been postulated. And these 5 S's are very, very important to recognize because the sitting is the next smoking. So don't sit too much. You know, that's something which we need to recognize, that if you sit too much, you will have a huge problem of your hands. So it's important to recognize, and sleeping chronotypes is equally important. Many of you all are hostelites, and many hostelites will sleep late. But the current thinking is early owl, early to bed is more useful in diabetic medicine than the sleeping late. So that's something important. Are my slides visible? I don't think they are. Can I share my slides? Can you see my slides here? Are my slides visible here, Dr. Basagowda?
Yes, it's visible.
These are the 5 S's. I didn't cover it in my talk. Sitting, sweating, stepping, sleeping, and strengthening. These are the new mantra for exercise. I'm very happy that this person asked me this question. Break up prolonged sitting every 30 minutes. Limit sitting. All of you all are sitting, limit that. Second, sweat it out. At least 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical exercise. And if you are frail or sarcopenic, build some muscle. So sweat it out. Step. Increase 500 steps per day. It will reduce your cardiovascular mortality and all-cause mortality by 2 to 9%. And 5 to 6 minutes of brisk walk is equal to extra 4 years of your life. So step out after my exercise or my talk for 4 to 5 or 6 minutes of brisk walk. It will help you. Strengthen your muscles. And they have included for the first time in the world yoga. And JSS has done a lot of elegant work on yoga. And so has Karnataka. Yoga is included as a part of muscle strengthening exercises. And finally, sleep for 5 to 6 hours. Don't sleep more than 8 hours. Don't sleep less than 6 hours. Irregular sleep influences glycemic control. And don't be an evening chronotype. Night owl, go to bed late, get up late. That is more susceptible to inactivity and poor glycemic control. Be a morning chronotype. Early bed, go to bed early, get up early. So these are the new guidances on physical activity. I hope I have answered your question. I am thankful for the opportunity for this question because it allowed me to talk on the 5 S's, which was beyond the ambit of my oration.
So, Professor Kumar wanted to know, very recently, 3 days ago, there was a paper that came out that said moderate to severe exercise in type 1 diabetes leads to abnormal, hypoglycemia. With that, he said, how much is too much? I remember my teacher, Professor Ramshakti, saying, when you exercise, if you gasp for air and you cannot speak 5 words for 5 minutes in a proper manner, it is too much.
That's correct. That's correct.
My question, I'm Dr. Shashidhar, Professor of Medicine. I got 2 questions, sir. One is, does genetics play a role in reversal of diabetes? One. Second one is, can we assess stress, the release stress markers for the patients who can develop diabetes in future or other diseases?
Stress is a very easy question to talk about and very difficult to measure. So in the medicinal world of research, there is a term called allostatic load. You can estimate allostatic load. That is the equivalent of stress. For example, there is a computational formula of a score with salivary cortisol, with 24-hour urinary cortisol, and you can actually estimate allostatic load. That is how you measure stress. So stress can be measured now with both various biomarkers as well as scores. That is number one. The first question was
Does genetics play a role in reversal of that?
genetics. See, we can't change our parents or our genome. Okay. But if you are blessed with some abnormal family history, we can take care of our environment. So genetics definitely has a call for action for early aggressive lifestyle change. So genomics do influence outcomes, but also if you are able to intervene the environment, you can make an impact. So as far as remission is concerned, whether you are familiar or non-familiar, it doesn't matter. Okay, that is very, very clear cut. And that's something which we need to recognize. But if you are having, you are both father and mother and everybody in your family with type 2 diabetes, your chance of getting type 2 diabetes are 90%. Either father or mother have diabetes, it is 70%. One relative, it is 40%. So obviously then from the age 20, you should be cautious and lead a lifestyle, which is a healthy lifestyle, which makes you eat less, do exercise, sleep well, and be happy, be positive. Don't be stressed out at all. So you need to have an early call for action. If you don't have family history, then probably the call for action comes at 40 or 45. So it only puts that if you are having a strong family history, which was your question, the influence of genomic means screen early and target lifestyle intervention early. That's all it means.
Sir, my question is, I think we'll stop here. You can put it in the chat. And we'll take the last question. I think we can move on.
The question is, your formula can be accepted, eat less, eat on time, and eat less calories and all. But how to apply in rural India people who are involved in more of farming community and the workers at that level, how to implement this? Is it practicable?
What I didn't get you, sorry.
Formula of eating less, eat on time, how to apply in farming rural Indians who go out of the
Yes,
home,
I got your
work
point.
outside.
So agrarian India, which is physically active, doesn't need this lifestyle advice. Because a farmer who is really going for farming, not using his motorcycle, not using his mobile, not using his tractor, okay, and not seeing and digitally intoxicated to television, tobacco, and alcohol, okay, they will never get diabetes. However, if that same farmer is a prosperous farmer, using his motorcycle, tractor, phone, device, and showing off his cars, he will not only get diabetes, heart disease, obesity, dyslipidemia, and cancer, all of them. Okay, so it's important that if he remains agrarian like his ancestors, he will not get it. My mantra is not needed for that person. But if he rapidly adapts and has a wrong lifestyle, then obviously he is going to get all the diseases. And the affluent, prosperous farmer, is the one who is more at risk. The poor farmer who is working 24/7 on the field is unlikely to get diabetes, but can get mental health stress, rarely can get diabetes. And these lifestyle approaches may not be apt for them. And we'll need to have different strategies for them.
Shashank, you're very
Diabetes
clear.
also is a heterogeneous disease. Yes, sir.
You're very clear. You said eat less.
Yes.
And given some more time, I'm sure you'll come out with more answers like eat less for the work you do. Thank you. We'll stop here.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for the enlightening speech, sir.